How do you feel when someone gives you feedback? My guess is just hearing that question, you cringed a little bit. Our instinct when we hear the word feedback is to think, oh, I just got critical information. I just got somebody criticizing me and telling me about the things that I'm doing wrong. But is that what feedback really is, or what it has to be? I would argue that it's not. In fact, I would tell you that valuable feedback matters and that feedback fosters growth. That's how we get better. The challenge is that we get feedback, especially in this internet age, from so many different resources, including trolls in the comments and people in our life who we didn't ask for the feedback or didn't want it. We get it from all of these places, and it builds this frustration that all we're getting told is how bad we are. When we look at our lives, what we can recognize is that feedback from outside is what's going to help us get better. Why? Because we're in the picture. We can't see the frame. We can't see the whole thing. We need somebody, ideally, that's aligned with what we think is important in the world, and someone that we can trust to give us some objective viewpoint and help us go where we're trying to go and give us feedback that is both good and challenging. When we think of valuable feedback, compliments are one of the things that come to mind. And compliments I like to bring up first because it is the thing that we brush off the most. We hear a negative piece of feedback and we may not like it, we may not agree with it, but we take it to heart. It just kind of destroys us a little bit if we're not ready for it, if we're not looking for it. But a compliment, it's like we're almost always not ready for that. Somebody said something good for us, it comes in and we push it off. But compliments can have a powerful and far-reaching effect. I think of a story that one of the karate teachers at our school told us. He said that when he was young, his third grade teacher looked at him and said, "You're a hard worker." And 30 years later, that still resonated in his head. We don't know the small things that we're going to say that can be a gift for the lifetime of someone else, or that if we receive that gift from someone else, that it can change our lives as well. I encourage you, be open to compliments and look for a space to give them to others. It is a beautiful type of feedback, and it may, in fact, make you not cringe quite so much when you think about feedback overall. Second is that I encourage you to be open to receiving difficult feedback. Difficult feedback inspires change if it comes from the right place, if it comes from a place that we need to hear it from. For many times throughout my career, have received reviews, and I've not always been happy with them. I've not always agreed with them in the moment, but the most powerful ones, they're the ones that really changed my life. I think when I was sitting and getting this review from my boss, and he looks at me and he said, "Dan, I know that you think you're curious. I know that you think you ask questions, but you don't ask enough, and you need to be more curious." And I was frustrated. I did think I was curious. I thought I asked more than anybody else that I knew, and that I was getting all the information. As I processed that and went forward, what I realized is that I wasn't, that I was accepting a lot of surface answers, and that was causing me to make less good decisions than I could. And I even realized as time went on that curiosity, asking more and better questions, is the single number one skill that we can build that will move us the furthest, the fastest in the world. That review, that piece of critical feedback, even that frustrated me in the moment because of how difficult it was, changed my life. It's worth noting that even feedback from a terrible place, from someone who doesn't have your best interest at heart, can have value. There are times that you're going to get feedback from someone, maybe a troll on the internet or whatever, and most of those you should ignore. But every once in a while, there's going to be a piece in there that resonates with you that you go, "Oh yeah, that has value. Maybe I should listen to that." And so I encourage you to evaluate them and go, is it true? If it is true, should I do something about it? That can help. Fact is, though, that the best feedback is always going to come from those who align with you, who are going the same direction. They have the same goals. They have the same values, but they come from maybe a different background. They think differently. They process differently. And the best way to get the maximum amount of this feedback is to find your five. That's what I call it. It's the understanding that we become the average of the 5 people we spend the most time around. Of course, if you spend a lot of time around a group of people, you're going to become like them. So why not choose them intentionally. Find people that you want to be like, that you want to learn from, that you want to grow with. Pick that and spend more time with them. The key here is to pick people that you're going to have a good relationship with, that you respect, that are doing something or they are somewhere that you want to be, and then contribute to that relationship and focus on spending time with them. I get asked all the time, Dan, does this mean I have to say no to everybody else in my life? Of course not. As you spend more with those 5 people, you'll spend a little bit less time with the others, and you're going to find yourself moving forward. Then review this every quarter. That's the key, is don't get stuck where it's the same 5 for the rest of your life. This is figure out where you want to spend time every single quarter and make sure that your 5 are aligned with where you still want to go. When you do this, it's one of the most powerful and transformative things that you can possibly have in your world, and you will see massive leaps in your progress as you get the feedback from those relationships. I'm Dan McPherson, and I look forward to seeing you in the next sprint.